All right. Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome to the stream. So, we're going to have some conversations about many subjects, but the first subject we're going to be talking about today is some of the current events that's been happening around the country. Now, with that being said, guys, I must say there are things that have happened that I have been sad to see, but not shocked to see. Sad to see, but not shocked to see. Now, with that being said, I must say that what's happening in Texas, what's happening in Brooklyn, what's happening in New York, and there's an additional incident that happened in Texas on top of what happened in New York, on top of what happened not in New York, but also what happened in Texas at the school. Someone was caught with some hardware outside of a school, so that person was stopped, fortunately. And what that tells you is that there's people looking to copy these things, unfortunately. And I think that's so sad. It is so sad that we are having people right now who, instead of thinking about how to push the country forward, about how to get justice for groups who have been aggrieved, instead of thinking about how to improve things after what we've all been through the past 2 years, instead of thinking about how to make life better for their fellow man, instead of trying to improve the overall quality of the country, they're focused on destruction. And that is so unfortunate because I can think of so many other things that many of these talented young men could be doing to help this country and not hurting this country. But see, I come from a lineage, foundational Black Americans. We are builders. We built this country. So we're always in a builder's mindset. Certain other communities aren't built around that. Certain other communities don't have a lineage of that. But we do. So we understand that. This is why you don't typically find us doing this. Yes, you have inner city, you have inner city violence. Sure, absolutely. But it's usually relegated to inner cities. It doesn't really extend beyond that. But now that we've had these incidents, now the narrative is no longer about Black men. In fact, the way that I know the narrative is no longer about Black men is because other non-Black people are saying it. And you see, certain other communities are very concerned about that. They're very concerned about that. They're very upset about that. By the way, if you want to see what my shirt says, it says witches against white supremacy. That's what it says. And I bought that shirt from Amazon. It was nice. But my thing is that certain people need to realize that there are things that are happening right now that others like myself have forewarned you about. I told you about what's going to happen when you let that so-called medic, will you let him slide for what he did, going to a whole different state with that kind of hardware, doing what he did, and you let him slide? Well, we told you about that kind of effect, right? And what happened when I said all that then, right? I was called all kind of names. I was told I was a horrible person. Horrible person. I was told all these things. And yet now when these things come to pass, as I've been describing for so long, now all of a sudden, it's a different tune. Now, even though I've been proven to be correct, now there's an indignance. That's one of the stages of people being belligerent, right? Belligerence. When you say that when you let this young man go from what he did, he goes to a different state, hurts people, calls himself a medic, right? Gets on the stand crying, one little single tear. Yeah, you could play a violin and it still wouldn't be appropriate. You could play the world's smallest violin, baby. You could become Ant-Man, right? Ant-Man. Go subatomic with the violin, and you still wouldn't have a violin small enough to play for that small little tear that came down, right? That person's face. A small little tear. I didn't mean to go to a different state with that and do that. That's what happened. And now you're telling me that had no effect on what's happening currently in the country. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? You told the dominant society, the vast majority of the country, it's okay to go to a different state and do that, so long as you can mentally justify it and get other people to get on code with you. Hmm? You don't think that court cases have precedence? You don't think so? Hmm. You don't think so? You don't think that's how it works? You don't think that when you let somebody walk when they went to a different state, calling themselves a medic, right? A medic, taking people out, just unaliving people, left and right, just pow, 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 pow. And now you think that court cases that was seen on TV that often, that much, all over the internet, all over the interwebs, as my mama, no. My mama said the WWWs. All over the WWWs. And you think that young kids and you think that people don't watch the internet. They don't watch memes. They don't look at memes. They don't look at TV. They don't watch videos. They don't watch live streams. I mean, the very same people like Michael Mahagan, who's saying all this stuff, right? Or Furby Dubs, right? Who's saying all this stuff. I want you to know something funny about them, right? Know something really, really, really funny and interesting about them. When they say this stuff, notice how they never focus on the point. They always got to do whataboutisms, right? What about Chicago? Okay, well, what about Chicago? Who runs Chicago? Oh, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. Because most Democrat Party is still white. Oh, you want to mention California? Who's the governor? White guy. Oh, you want to mention how bad the country's going, right? What white people, you've had your chance to run the country. Who's running the country now? You're saying the country is so bad off, right? Who's running it now? White guy. You know, I'm just saying. I mean, you push all this stuff saying that you're more intelligent. You say that you're more civilized. You say you're better with money. You say that. But when I look around, baby, I just got to say, listen, I'm not judging you based on skin color. I would never do that. I'm judging you based on what you've told me. You've told me, right, that white men make better presidents. You've told me this, right? You've told me this. So Joe Biden is he from the Caribbean? Is he from Ghana? China? Is he Japanese? Oh, no. He's from the Caucasus Mountains. So how can you say in one breath that you're so superior, and yet you got a member of your superior group who can't seem to run the country? Even when he had a Democrat majority in the Senate and the House and the White House. So how are you supposedly superior if by the very same other complaints that you've been making, you can't be superior? Because one of your own is running the country into the ground. So make up your mind, baby. Which one is it? Listen, I'll listen to you if you make sense. Deal? I'll listen to you if it makes sense. But if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, baby. And some of y'all's points looking real broke right now. Some of y'all points looking like a retired NFL player, baby. Just broke. All right? You can't tell me in one breath that white people are somehow supposedly superior, and yet we got a white president, and yet you also complain about him. Which one is it? See, that's the first question that I've been asking for years now, you know? So how are you so superior, and yet the country is in the condition that it's in, and we only had one black president? You tell me in 8 years, Barack Obama caused more damage than all these other white presidents? Is that what you're telling me? Because if that's what you're telling me, apparently you're bad at math. Listen, baby. You don't need me. You need Neil deGrasse Tyson. You need, I don't know, the Count from Sesame Street, baby. All right. You need, freaking Paw Patrol. All right. You don't need me. You don't need me. All right. So the vast majority of major cities are white people. The vast majority of major cities are white people. Right? So you're complaining about California. You're complaining about Chicago. You're complaining about New York. And yet the vast majority of all the voters in those states, white people. See, this is how I know the whole thing with voting, this is like a scam. That's how I know it. Because how can you tell me in one breath that voting changes everything, right? You tell me all that, right? But then in the same breath, right, you tell me that the reason why we are in the condition that we're in is because we don't vote. But then you tell me the country is also in shambles, but the vast majority of voters in the country are white. So what are you saying about your own people? Just if you think logically, baby, if you just pause, If you do what's that stand that JoJo has? You know, freaking time stop. Just use time stop, baby. Use your stand ability from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know, use Time Wizard from freaking Yu-Gi-Oh, baby. All right. Use Time Wizard. Just time stop for a second and just pause, think for a second. You're telling me that white people are somehow superior. That's what you're claiming, right? And you're saying that they're superior and that we don't get things because we don't vote. But you do vote, and you're also complaining about the very guy who's in the White House right now, who's also white. So it gets to the point, whereas does Joe Biden have to be black for you to get the point? Who knew that Joe Biden needed to get what Uncle Ruckus got? You know? Read vitiligo. if Joe Biden got vitiligo, I think white people will finally get the point that we ain't the problem here. If you're saying that voting is the actual solution. All right? Eventually it gets to the point where I'm going to start asking these questions. If you just logically pause for a second, baby, you know, just stop, reverse, you know, reverse, you know. You just think for a second. A lot of the stuff that people say when they show up on my channel or even in my live streams, it's the silliest stuff you can freaking imagine. Because you can tell those people never critically thought about the things that they're going to type out. Never thought about it. Never thought about it. At all. See, some people don't realize the reason why sometimes I do engage trolls and why I just block others. Some trolls are here to have fun. I don't block those. I like those kind of trolls. The ones that are funny, the ones that are actually engaging, the ones that are asking questions. I don't mind you asking questions. I just don't like mindless trolling. See, that's a whole different thing. Some people get a rush from trolling, especially when they know it's a person that they can't beat. So they use trolling to get you to get angry so that you can react to them. Well, unfortunately for those people, I just usually block those types. The types that are trolling, the ones that I actually engage are the concern trolling, right? Concern trolling. Those are the ones that I'm generally interested in because at least they're willing to have a conversation, right? So concern trolling. Let me give you some prime examples of what I'm talking about, right? Concern trolling. Like when I mention reparations, right? And someone says, well, how are you going to pay for it? You know, or they say things like, well, um, why should you get it? Or why should I pay for it? Things like that. They already know the answer to the question. It's just concern trolling to see if they can find a way to convince me that I don't deserve it, or that someone else does it for their own self gratification. It's not. They understand that coming to a TikTok live or coming to a TikTok comment section or a YouTube comment section to Facebook or social media, it's not going to change the minds of Black America. It's for their own self gratification. That's it. That's it. Like American Reaper here, right? If he had said, if he wanted to engage in a conversation, I'd be fine with this comment. But just saying no one owes you a thing, how is that having a conversation? See, American Reaper, want something, work for it, and how is that a conversation? You're not changing anyone's mind, you're just typing stuff. And you know this. So if you type anything else that's belligerent, you're gonna get blocked. Please don't do that. Let's have a conversation, man. Be proactive and be productive. This is not productive, and you know it. You know it. Come on, man. You better than this. You better than this. And my thing is, see, 420 Lenny, gosh, you gotta go, buddy. Sorry. If you're just gonna be like this, right? You just gotta go, buddy. Sorry. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. I'm gonna ignore the comments for a little bit. Some people get a rush off it. And you notice the people who get a rush off it. It's people who try to, they'll try to get you to stop and read the comments. And so whenever you try to push the live stream along, they want to keep you in the comment section. This is why I just sometimes ignore the comment section. Just keep going. Because I know the tactics of these people. I dealt with them for so long. See, when you're an experienced content creator, you know how these people think. They do the same thing every time, and they're so predictable. In fact, so predictable, right? So predictable that I can tell you exactly what was said in the comment section, even when I wasn't looking at the freaking screen. Like most of the streams so far, I wasn't even looking at the screen, but I can tell you what was in the comment section. Exactly, because as soon as I mention Chicago and the corruption with Chicago police, you know what kind of comments I'm going to get, right? As soon as I mention reparations, a couple seconds after I mentioned reparations, you saw the first comments. The reason why I can predict it is because these people are predictable. They make themselves predictable. They don't realize they are a meme now. See, they're not in on the joke, so they don't get the joke. They don't realize that the same way that you just block a boomer, you know, someone who acts like a freaking boomer, same way I do you, because you're on the same level. To be honest with you, if I'm from South Carolina, that's but so many times somebody's gonna call me that particular word, and I'm not even offended anymore. I'm just more like offended that you couldn't come up with something better than that. Like, here's the thing, like you've had people come on stream and just insult me, and I've laughed it off and we become friends because I can at least get a good trolling. But when you're terrible at it, right? And when you just say the same predictable stuff, you're not really pushing forward a conversation. And the whole text thing, the whole text flame war thing, that is so 2008, man. Like that, I think people don't realize a lot of that stuff has died out, mainly because IRC chats are so old. And even when people do Discord chats, yeah, it's Discord chats, but you notice that people don't really say some of the stuff that you guys are saying. There's only really certain Discord chats, right? So you got to realize, man, by the way, that's my dog in the background snoring. That's her. She's a big doggo. But like some people just don't realize that they're not really having a joke, that you are the joke. A lot of people who are going on the internet leaving some of these silly comments, I don't think they realize how much the culture has shifted since George Floyd. Right? It's shifted some, right? So some of the things that you would consider to be funny, right? It's not funny anymore. It's just kind of like, you know, like Like there's some jokes, whereas a couple years ago it would be funny, but now it's like, like for example, if you make a joke about sneezing now, in like a grocery store, people are gonna look at you like, So like I'm not trying to be mean when I explain that. I'm trying to be like actually practical with you. So if you're listening and you don't agree with me, just hear me out, right? That's how it is. So the culture has shifted some, and I think what's happening is that some people who are talking to you guys are not telling you this. So unfortunately, I gotta tell you this because I've infiltrated some of your groups, and I know they're not telling you this. The culture has shifted. Racism is kind of played out. So if you're gonna do that, you gotta find a new way to do it because it's being outright with it now. It's hot right now. You might want to leave that alone. All right. Your main draw, your main strength was being funny during 2016, 2017, 2018. Right? So if you were raised on being funny and making memes and now you ain't doing that, you're just being offensive and people are just like, they see you as like the awkward stepchild, you're accelerating your collapse into irrelevance. And personally, I would love to see it, but it's just kind of sad to see. Like I actually want a challenge. Like, geez, like the cops and some of the people on the far right have made it too easy now, man. Like, honestly, some of y'all are easy pickings now. Like you had actual intellectual racists at one point. You had like Richard Spencer's. The guy was actually, say what you want about him. He was intelligent. He was a racist. Didn't like him. But at least you had some measure of intelligence there. The average person that you run across who's racist now, have you noticed a significant drop off in freaking intelligence? Have you noticed this? It's just like, phew. Like, I hate to say this, but I kind of miss the guy. I mean, the content is too easy now. Like, and that's what's making some of the content so bland. And so I'm glad that we did our job as content creators and chasing those people off and making them feel unwelcome on the internet. I'm glad that happened, but there was a drawback effect, and the drawback effect was we made it too easy to go after these kind of people now because they follow a script, right? You can predict what they're gonna say before they say it. If you say, like for example, if you are a white person and you mention white privilege, you know exactly what you're gonna get in the comment section. You're a traitor, all that stuff, right? Right. So you know what's gonna happen in any given scenario. You know if an unarmed black man is unalived by a police officer and that person has so much as a traffic ticket, you know what's going to happen. You don't have to look at the comment section. You know what they're going to say. If you get a police officer who you can get a police officer who does the worst thing possible. I mean, just imagine the worst Cobra Commander, worst stuff you can name. I'm talking about stuff that would make the Joker go, bro, you need help. You got issues, right? They could do that. And so long as they have a badge, you know what people are going to say. You know what they're going to say. It's the same stuff every time. And when it gets like that, when you're that predictable, and this goes out to the far right if you're listening. I know you're listening. I know at least one of you out there is far right. I know one of you out there considers yourself to be a hardcore Republican. I know one of you out there considers you to be pro-police. I know one of you out there considers, you consider yourself to be, against me. I know that. And if you're listening, I want you to consider this. When you're that predictable, don't we usually call that kind of person a joke? Don't we? I mean, that's how jokes become relatable. See, if someone gets on stage and gives a joke, like if Dave Chappelle went on stage and gave a joke and it wasn't relatable to anybody, would anybody laugh? I mean, Dave Chappelle is not that kind of comedy, right? Like, for example, somebody like Kevin Hart. He's that kind of comedy. He can go on stage, make all kind of noises, and give all kind of made up stories. But Dave Chappelle is not that kind of guy. And usually the best comics, like the Richard Pryors, the Dave Chappelles, the George Carlins, they usually go from a real life aspect, right? And they would never be funny because they don't do sound effects, they don't do all that stuff. They would never be funny if there was nothing relatable to it. So the common denominator with good jokes is relatability and repeatability. How repeatable is this action, and how often do people see it, and what do they already think about it? Right? To the far right, you become a joke. When you start lashing out at people at grocery stores as senior citizens, got people going to schools, you got a Karen video every other day. You're standing up for cops now, so you can't really get the real libertarians on your side, You become a joke and you're isolating yourselves. And I understand that 2040 is coming. I get that. And I get that some of you are concerned about your numbers. Listen, I make jokes about it, but I'm not unsympathetic towards that. You're just fighting for survival. I get it. That makes sense, man. That's not something to put down, bro. Like, that's not something to be a douchebag about. I'm not going to be like that. But you're going about it the wrong way. And if you keep pushing, you saw how this turned out during the Civil War. All right? See, a lot of lies were told about Civil War. See, you were told that it was the Union Army that freed the slaves. See, you were told that, wouldn't you? See, I'm from South Carolina. I know different. Yeah, I know the war officially ended with the Civil War, but it wasn't the Union Army who freed the slaves. See, it was still slavery that was happening even after the Civil War, if you open up a history book every now and then. That is just that's not even controversial to say that there were slaves even after slavery. Who freed them? Go look up the Black Maroon colonies. Black Maroons. Go look them up. These were escaped slaves. Many of them who were Black Seminoles, people from the Gullah Geechee Nation, people who were in South America. Some of the people were from the Caribbean. They escaped slave plantations from the Caribbean, right? And they fought to free the slaves. They never got credit for it until recently. See, and that stuff rewrites history books. Stuff that people just wouldn't even know. So understand something. Even if you didn't win the war, and even afterhand, you didn't win the war. You didn't win the battle or the war. So you know how this is going to turn out. So I want you to understand something. To the far right, to everybody who's listening, who's on the far right. You're pushing people to the edge. And if you're worried about your numbers already, that's not a good thing. The best thing for you to do going forward is to assimilate. Get used to not having low numbers. That's cool. Intermingle into other communities. Maybe you can rise again one day. But for right now, next 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 years, 1,000 years, that won't be the case. You've had your time. And if you are a person of certain skin color, you've had a great run at my expense, at other people's expense. But it's over. It's time for you to peacefully let somebody else take the reins to see how it turns out. You know the truth. You know that when the Moors were around, you know that when the kingdoms of Kush were around, there was mathematics. There was indoor plumbing. We had indoor plumbing. Foundational Black Americans had indoor plumbing before anybody else. Okay. Even the Aztecs had that too. So I want you to understand that we ran the world at one point. We all know this. And it turned out just fine because guess what? You're still here. We were running the world when you were still on the Caucasus Mountains. Everything happens in seasons. Our season came, our season left. Your season rose, and come 2040, it shall be our season again, because the white Hispanics will not hold us back. You know that. You and I both know that. You know that. You know George Zimmerman, he went after Trayvon for a reason. He's not going to target somebody like me. You know that. He's not you. He's not you. So peacefully assimilate. But pushing this too far, that's just going to accelerate the collapse. But that's it for me, guys. Until next time, horns up, peace out. Good night and good luck.